With an irritated motion, he threw the photographs onto the table, and they scattered chaotically across its cold surface. Betrayal stared back at him from every image, mocking the vows they had once made together. His heart pounded violently, grief and anger colliding within his chest, tearing him apart from inside. Emily, his wife, his closest confidant, captured in moments of passion with another man. Each photograph was a silent, brutal accusation, undeniable and merciless. Trust evaporated in an instant, leaving behind only raw, uncontrollable emotions. He stood in silence, realizing for the first time that love had its limits and trust had its breaking point, and he had unknowingly reached the edge of both. Now, a choice lay before him, a choice that would either break him completely or forge him anew.
The first thing I noticed wasn't a sound, but a soft, ghostly glow slipping through the half-open bedroom door. It danced faintly along the ceiling, shimmering with an unsettling rhythm. At first, I thought I'd left a device charging or perhaps forgotten to turn off the hallway light, but the rhythmic pulse didn't match a bulb or any common gadget. This was different, intrusive, methodical, quiet. I squinted at the clock on my nightstand. 3:12 a.m. A chill crawled down my spine as I swung my legs off the bed, cautiously placing my feet on the cool hardwood floor. My heartbeat quickened slightly, each pulse a whisper of suspicion. I stood slowly, quietly, eyes fixed on that elusive glow. Stepping closer to the door, I noticed it wasn't emanating from the hall, but from my home office. A soft tap echoed faintly, fingers rapidly hitting a screen. Someone was in there, navigating carefully, deliberately. I took another quiet step forward, pressing my palm against the cool surface of the slightly ajar door, gently easing it open just enough to peer inside. The soft, digital illumination spilled over Jessica's features. Her back curved gracefully, like a predator inspecting its prey. My wife, my Jessica, hunched over my desk, holding my phone in her hand. Not hers, but mine. She was calm, focused, yet the set of her shoulders carried tension I'd never seen before. I watched silently, unnoticed, as her fingertips glided effortlessly across the screen. Tap, swipe, pause, repeat. Her motions suggested meticulous rehearsal, as though this wasn't the first intrusion. The screen flashed briefly, illuminating her face. I recognized that subtle smirk of victory, of silent triumph. A hollow ache filled my chest, not from anger, but from bitter realization. This wasn't spontaneous curiosity. Jessica had crossed a line, one drawn clearly in trust. I didn't interrupt her. Instead, I stood frozen, observing every detail, every flicker of movement, each careful gesture that betrayed her intent. The realization twisted inside me like a blade. Years of analyzing subtle financial behaviors for a living had honed my instincts. Now, those instincts screamed betrayal. A notification popped on the screen, a brief flash, but clear enough for me to read the name, CryptoFlow. My heart stuttered. CryptoFlow wasn't a standard financial app. It was whispered about in dark corners of the internet. Used discreetly by those needing anonymity, it wasn't a casual tool. Jessica had installed it on my device without hesitation or doubt, indicating this was planned, premeditated. She finished quickly, placing my phone exactly where I'd left it, meticulously, perfectly. Then she rose and turned toward the door. Instinctively, I stepped back into the shadows, breath trapped in my lungs. Her silhouette paused briefly as she glanced back, eyes scanning the room, satisfied that she'd left no trace of her actions. She slipped quietly down the hall, footsteps fading until silence reclaimed the night. I stood there, the weight of truth pressing down heavily. Jessica thought she'd slipped by unnoticed, that she'd won a small battle in secrecy. But secrets, I knew, were fragile things. They had a tendency to crack under scrutiny, and scrutiny was exactly what Jessica had just invited into our home. The dawn broke slowly, stretching pale fingers of light across the bedroom. Sleep had eluded me entirely after witnessing Jessica's late-night deception. I'd spent hours mentally replaying every detail, her posture, her calm yet calculating gestures, the glowing screen, and the sinister app. Each repetition sharpened the sting of betrayal until it settled like a dull ache inside me. I watched quietly as Jessica stirred beside me, her movements soft and graceful, a practiced serenity about her. She sat up slowly, stretching her arms above her head, letting out a gentle sigh. Everything appeared normal, as though nothing had changed overnight. She turned, noticing my open eyes, and gave a sweet smile, warm enough to fool even me if I hadn't known better. "Good morning," she murmured, leaning in to kiss my cheek, her lips brushing lightly against my skin. "You seem tired. Didn't sleep well?" "Just a bit restless," I answered, masking my suspicion with practiced neutrality. "Had some thoughts about work. You?" Her eyes remained warm, innocent. "Slept perfectly," she said, standing gracefully. "I'll make coffee." She disappeared toward the kitchen, leaving behind a faint trace of her perfume, something floral and delicate, an ironic contrast to her nocturnal betrayal. I rose, dressing slowly, absorbing the absurd normalcy of our morning routine. Downstairs, the familiar aroma of fresh coffee welcomed me, deceptively comforting. Jessica leaned casually against the kitchen counter, a steaming mug in hand, her golden hair falling softly around her shoulders. She smiled gently, presenting a perfect image of domestic tranquility. "I almost forgot," she began casually, sipping her coffee. "Lucas confirmed the trip to the Alps for this weekend. It's a yoga and wellness retreat. A few friends will be joining. Thought you wouldn't mind me getting away for a bit." Her voice carried such ease, such believability. The retreat, Lucas, her so-called personal trainer, I'd never questioned their closeness before. Now, each word dripped with hidden meaning. "Sounds relaxing," I replied, forcing a subtle smile. "You deserve some rest." She placed her mug down and stepped closer, gently touching my arm. Her eyes searched mine briefly, as though testing my sincerity. "You're sure it's okay? I'd hate for you to feel left out." My smile didn't falter. "Absolutely. A weekend away might do you good." The satisfaction flickering across her eyes was fleeting but unmistakable. She leaned in, placing another soft kiss on my cheek. "You're always so understanding, Nathan. I'm lucky." Luck had nothing to do with it, but I nodded anyway, maintaining the facade. Jessica withdrew, moving gracefully toward the stairs to prepare for her day. As she disappeared from view, I stood alone, absorbing the surreal scene. Trust had turned to smoke overnight, yet the stage play continued as if scripted and rehearsed. I picked up my phone, the very device she'd used for her clandestine operation, feeling its weight differently now, heavy, sinister. Each moment we shared was now shadowed by unseen calculations. Jessica believed her secrets remained safely hidden, but beneath this mask of morning normality, a storm was gathering, and I was the silent observer, ready to let it unfold. After Jessica left for her morning yoga class, the silence of our home settled around me, thick and heavy. My fingers drummed quietly on the polished wood of my office desk, anxiety twisting tightly in my chest. Every inch of this room had become suspect, tainted by her secret actions, haunted by the subtle betrayal lurking in plain sight. I unlocked my laptop, the screen illuminating my face in a cold, sterile glow. Cryptoflow, the name burned in my memory. Just its presence on my phone spoke volumes about Jessica's intentions. It was software favored by anonymous traders, money launderers, and financial ghosts, the kind of individuals I usually shielded clients from, not harbored within my own home. I hesitated briefly, then dialed Caleb's encrypted number. Caleb had always been an unusual contact, half detective, half hacker, completely trustworthy. He answered on the second ring, his voice clipped and clear. "Nathan," he said simply, his greeting tinged with alertness. He knew I only called him when something was deeply wrong. "I've got a situation," I replied softly, the words sour on my tongue. "It's Jessica. She accessed my phone last night, installed CryptoFlow." A silence stretched, brief but weighted. "You're certain?" "I saw her," I said, rubbing the tension from my temples. "She's planning something, possibly already started." Caleb exhaled slowly, processing. "I'll check your accounts, run diagnostics on CryptoFlow, and see how deep this goes. I assume you want discretion?" "Complete discretion," I confirmed. "She mustn't suspect." He paused again, then his voice sharpened with subtle intrigue. "I'll create a sandbox, something tempting enough to lure her in fully, traceable yet harmless. If she takes the bait, we'll know exactly what she's after." My stomach nodded. Setting a trap for Jessica felt cold, ruthless, yet necessary. She'd blurred the lines first. I was simply redrawing them, clearer, more defined. "Do it," I agreed. "I need to know her plan, every detail." "Consider it done. I'll reach out when it's set," Caleb assured me. Then the line went silent, leaving me alone again. I leaned back, the chair creaking softly beneath my weight. My eyes wandered around the room. Family portraits, vacation snapshots, Jessica's subtle touches everywhere. Each image, each memory seemed tainted now, false and distorted. Why was she doing this? The thought gnawed relentlessly, and doubt curled like a snake around my mind. Had I missed signs before, subtle warnings masked by love and trust? Or was Jessica simply adept at concealment, an actress playing her role flawlessly? A notification chimed softly, pulling my gaze back to the laptop. Caleb already worked swiftly. Encrypted files began appearing, each meticulously structured. He'd set up a tempting digital environment, false accounts, fabricated transactions, designed precisely for Jessica's curiosity. I stared numbly at the screen, realizing the bitter irony. My life was built around trust and financial security, yet I was forced now to use deception as a shield. I wasn't fighting a stranger, but someone closer, someone I'd once shared everything with. Jessica might have initiated the betrayal, but I was stepping into the shadows willingly, becoming a ghost myself, watching, waiting, and preparing silently. Friday arrived with unsettling speed. Jessica moved through our home with effortless grace, packing stylish winter outfits, yoga gear, and elegant evening dresses into her suitcase. Each item she folded seemed meticulously chosen, not only for practicality, but as if she anticipated an audience. Her quiet confidence felt more sinister now, laced with an arrogance I'd never noticed before. "Are you sure you won't join us?" she asked sweetly, zippering the suitcase closed. Her eyes sparkled with practiced innocence, yet beneath their polished surface lay something colder. "I have work," I responded casually, masking my internal turbulence. "You enjoy the break." She approached, sliding her arms around my neck. Her lips brushed against my cheek, soft but fleeting, like smoke dissipating before it could be grasped. "You work too hard, Nathan," she whispered. "Promise me you'll relax a little." "I'll try," I replied, smiling despite the ache in my chest. Moments later, I stood silently by the window, watching her sleek black car pull away down the long driveway, snow crunching softly beneath its wheels. The calm winter scenery seemed to mock me, pristine and beautiful, yet concealing treachery beneath its surface. When the car disappeared, I returned to my office where Caleb's encrypted messages already awaited me. He'd tracked Jessica's recent digital footprints, confirming she'd accessed the sandbox accounts, testing them cautiously. Her intentions were clear now, draining what she believed to be significant assets. Her target was bold, yet utterly misguided. But why? The question echoed inside me relentlessly. Our marriage had seemed strong, comfortable at least. Jessica enjoyed financial freedom, luxury without question, support without boundaries. Yet somewhere, invisible fractures had formed, cracks that spread silently, shattering trust and loyalty. A notification appeared, Jessica's social media update. She'd posted a perfectly framed selfie, snowy mountains behind her, bright eyes shining beneath expensive sunglasses, a confident smile curving her lips. Beside her stood Lucas, arm casually draped around her shoulder, effortlessly handsome and confident. The caption read simply, "A breath of fresh air." I stared numbly at the screen. She didn't hide him. He wasn't merely a trainer or friend. His place beside her was more significant, more deliberate. Was this carelessness or calculated cruelty? My phone buzzed again. Caleb. A cryptic but clear message flashed briefly. Crypto flow activated. Sandbox accounts targeted. Tracking enabled. Jessica had taken the bait. She'd fully entered the digital trap we'd meticulously arranged. Every move she made would now be recorded, tracked, analyzed. The hunter had unwittingly become the prey, wandering unknowingly into territory already mapped by careful hands. I closed my eyes briefly, absorbing the weight of this moment. Jessica believed herself clever, sophisticated in deceit, secure in anonymity. But she had underestimated me, the quiet man she'd labeled predictable, safe, perhaps even weak. When I opened my eyes again, my gaze hardened. Outside, snow fell gently, silently blanketing everything in deceptive tranquility. The landscape, beautiful and serene, mirrored Jessica's facade perfectly. Yet beneath the snow, ice formed slowly, hardening into something unbreakable and dangerous. Just as beneath my calm exterior, a new resolve crystallized, unforgiving and patient. Jessica had chosen betrayal. Now I would choose how this ended. With Jessica gone, the house felt unnaturally quiet, an emptiness pressing into the corners of each room, amplifying my loneliness and suspicion. I moved through familiar spaces with an unfamiliar wariness, seeing traces of her deception everywhere. In our living room, photographs lined the shelves, each frame a moment frozen in happier times. Our honeymoon in Tuscany, her laughing beside me at a friend's wedding, our weekend trips to the coast. They'd once been symbols of stability. Now, they mocked me, cruel reminders of illusions I'd willingly embraced. Unable to bear it, I turned away, retreating to the sterile safety of my home office. There, the screen illuminated my face again, and Caleb's encrypted interface appeared, a stark relief compared to the suffocating sentimentality of the house. Jessica accessed the sandbox again. His latest message read clearly. Transferred approximately $400,000 to a holding account. It's untraceable, at least she believes it is. I felt a chill creep along my spine. $400,000. She wasn't playing a small game. It wasn't a whim or casual curiosity. Jessica was committed to betrayal on a grand scale. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I replied, "Monitor everything. Record every step." Caleb's confirmation appeared swiftly, concise and reassuring. He was professional, detached, exactly what I needed right now. With a sigh, I leaned back, closing my eyes, thoughts spiraling once more. The depth of Jessica's betrayal baffled me. Our relationship had been built on openness, mutual respect, or so I'd assumed. But perhaps I'd been blind, comfortable in ignorance. Had I overlooked clues, subtle signs of dissatisfaction or resentment? Had I become complacent, taking our life for granted? My thoughts were interrupted by another notification. Jessica's social media again, this time a video. Reluctantly, I clicked play. She stood on a terrace, snow-capped mountains framing her elegant figure. She laughed softly, genuine seeming, Lucas beside her. They toasted champagne glasses, oblivious or indifferent to scrutiny. Lucas leaned close, whispering something, and Jessica laughed again, eyes glittering in delight. My jaw tightened, a fresh wave of humiliation rushing through me. She flaunted her betrayal openly, convinced of her superiority, certain I wouldn't notice or care. Perhaps she'd grown confident that I was predictable, too occupied with work to detect her actions. I paused the video, capturing her expression, carefree, triumphant. It felt important somehow, evidence of her intent, her confidence. I saved it quietly, filing it neatly alongside the financial records Caleb provided. My phone buzzed gently on the desk, startling me slightly. Caleb again. Tracking Lucas, offshore account in his name. They're building something together. This new revelation twisted sharply in my chest. Jessica wasn't merely stealing. She was preparing a life without me, secretly crafting a future with another man. The pieces fell into place rapidly, forming a grim, undeniable picture. Jessica's deception wasn't spontaneous. It was cold, strategic. She was methodically erasing our life together, quietly but resolutely stepping into another, leaving behind only empty spaces and echoes of trust betrayed. I sat in silence, absorbing the impact of this veiled truth. Jessica believed herself hidden, safe behind a mask of innocence. But masks, I reminded myself coldly, could always be removed. By Sunday morning, the evidence against Jessica had stacked into an undeniable tower, each digital breadcrumb forming a clear, deliberate trail. The stillness of the house amplified my solitude as I meticulously reviewed every recorded action, every whisper of betrayal. Caleb's latest package arrived encrypted, labeled simply, Lucas Carter. I hesitated, feeling my pulse quicken slightly before opening it. Inside lay a comprehensive profile, bank statements, offshore account details, travel history, even social media interactions. Caleb had been thorough, bordering on invasive, but I felt no guilt, only numb satisfaction. Lucas was more than just Jessica's trainer. He had a history of questionable financial dealings, small frauds, shady cryptocurrency trades, whispers of laundering. Jessica had chosen a partner as morally ambiguous as her actions had become. I poured myself another cup of black coffee, ignoring its bitter bite. I needed clarity now, not comfort. Caleb's dossier included recent transfers, transactions that mirrored Jessica's activity. Lucas had quickly withdrawn substantial funds from their joint account, funneled discreetly into his offshore shelter, careful to remain beneath regulatory radars. Jessica was blind to his maneuvers, trusting him implicitly. The irony was chilling. While Jessica deceived me, Lucas quietly deceived her. My phone buzzed again, breaking my concentration. It was Jessica, sending a casual text. "Coming home tonight. Missed you." I stared at the screen in disbelief. Did she truly believe these hollow gestures still held meaning? Or was she simply keeping her facade intact? "See you soon," I replied neutrally, each word feeling like an act of deliberate betrayal, mirroring hers. The rest of the day passed in a haze of preparation. I adjusted security settings subtly, planting discrete tracking programs on shared devices, creating an invisible net around Jessica's digital existence. Each step felt colder, harsher, but I was too far in to reconsider. Evening fell, painting shadows across the living room walls. I waited quietly, tension coiling within me as headlights flashed briefly through the window, signaling Jessica's return. She entered with practiced elegance, suitcase in tow, her smile bright and artificial. Her eyes met mine briefly, holding an unspoken challenge or reassurance, difficult to discern beneath layers of practiced deceit. "Miss me?" she asked lightly, setting her suitcase aside. She approached slowly, testing my reactions, searching for signs of suspicion. "Always," I replied calmly, allowing her to embrace me. Her touch was soft, familiar, yet alien, my own skin crawling beneath her fingertips. As she pulled away slightly, she studied my expression carefully. "Everything okay? You seem tense." "Just busy," I lied smoothly. "Work complications." Her concern appeared genuine, eyes softening, lips curving sympathetically. "You worry too much," she murmured gently. I'm here now." She leaned closer, pressing her lips softly against mine. I endured the intimacy silently, betrayal souring the gesture. She believed this charade remained convincing, unaware her every move was documented, dissected. I pulled back, forcing a gentle smile. "Let's relax tonight. Tell me all about your weekend." Her eyes brightened slightly, her guard lowering fractionally. It was perfect, just what I needed. Her voice carried an easy confidence, unaware that behind every tender moment she projected, silent surveillance gathered strength, waiting patiently to unravel every carefully woven lie. Jessica had returned, confident and assured. But the truth awaited her, silent, patient, inevitable. Over the next few days, our lives settled back into the disturbing rhythm of false normality. Jessica moved gracefully through our routines, playing the role of a caring spouse flawlessly. Her deception had become second nature, performed with an ease that terrified me. Every smile, every whispered affection, calculated empty gestures that echoed bitterly within me. Meanwhile, Caleb worked tirelessly behind the scenes, monitoring every subtle digital heartbeat. His encrypted updates arrived daily, each revealing deeper layers of Jessica's betrayal. The sandbox accounts remained active. Jessica regularly accessed them, extracting modest sums, careful not to raise immediate suspicion. Lucas continued his separate manipulations, discreetly siphoning off funds, leaving barely traceable footprints. It was clear Jessica remained oblivious to Lucas's quiet duplicity. She trusted him implicitly, her confidence unshaken, her arrogance seemingly unbreakable. One evening, after a quiet dinner filled with mundane conversation, Jessica stepped away to shower, leaving her phone unattended. My gaze settled on it, tempting, vulnerable. Curiosity burned fiercely within me, and against better judgment, I took it carefully, feeling its familiar weight suddenly alien in my hand. The screen unlocked easily, her password unchanged from months ago, a careless oversight for someone so cunning. My heart hammered painfully as I navigated swiftly through her messages, pulse quickening with each confirmation of suspicion. Texts from Lucas stood out clearly, mingled casually with mundane exchanges. Plans discussed openly yet coded, vague references to moving ahead, finalizing the transfers, and cryptic mentions of our future. Their intimacy was undeniable, both financial and emotional. A chill spread slowly through me. Jessica wasn't simply after money. She was orchestrating a complete escape, meticulously planning her exit strategy from our marriage. The shower stopped abruptly, startling me. Hastily, I replaced the phone exactly as I'd found it, controlling my breathing carefully as Jessica entered moments later, wrapped in a silk robe, her damp hair cascading softly. "Everything all right?" she asked lightly, eyes flickering briefly toward her phone. "Just thinking," I replied casually, heart still pounding. She studied me briefly, then smiled warmly, approaching slowly. "You're always so serious," she whispered affectionately. Her fingertips brushed lightly against my jaw, gentle but chilling. I forced a smile, masking the turmoil inside. "Work's been stressful." She nodded sympathetically, leaning close again, her voice soft, intimate. "Maybe we both need a vacation, somewhere warm, just the two of us." The suggestion caught me off guard, a sudden twist in her narrative. Was she testing me, or genuinely seeking one last moment before disappearing completely? "Maybe," I agreed carefully. "We could discuss it." Her eyes brightened, satisfied by my cooperation, or perhaps my vulnerability. "Think about it," she murmured sweetly, retreating slowly, her scent lingering as she vanished into our bedroom. Alone again, the weight of her deception pressed heavily upon me. Jessica remained convinced of her superiority, blind to the subtle threads unraveling around her. Yet, within her careful orchestration of deceit, she'd unknowingly revealed vulnerability. Her confidence, her arrogance, her faith in Lucas, all weaknesses waiting silently to be exploited. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. The echoes of Jessica's deceit resonated through me, shaping a newfound resolve. Her illusions would crumble. Her false security would shatter. It was only a matter of when. Days slipped into weeks, and Jessica's false smiles and empty gestures continued unabated, forming a mask that concealed deeper treachery. Yet, behind the scenes, the meticulous tracking Caleb had set up grew stronger, steadily building the foundation for her eventual reckoning. One crisp morning, while Jessica was away at brunch with friends, real or imagined, I sat quietly at my desk, reviewing the latest data Caleb provided. The sandbox accounts Jessica believed secure were brimming with digital fingerprints. Each withdrawal, every transfer meticulously logged and documented. It was both painful and satisfying to see her plans laid bare before me. "She's growing confident," Caleb messaged bluntly. "Less cautious, more frequent access. It's like she thinks you're oblivious." His words stung, but they held a bitter truth. Jessica had underestimated me from the start. In her eyes, I was a predictable creature of habit, incapable of suspecting betrayal. That blindness was her greatest weakness. "Any new activity from Lucas?" I typed swiftly. Caleb's reply came quickly. "Lucas accessed Offshore account again yesterday. Transferred significant sums from Jessica's personal holdings. He's building a safety net for himself." I leaned back, letting the revelation sink in. Lucas wasn't merely Jessica's accomplice. He was quietly positioning himself to abandon her at the first sign of trouble. Irony twisted sharply within me. Jessica's betrayal had unwittingly sown seeds of her own downfall. The phone rang suddenly, jarring my thoughts. Unknown caller. Hesitantly, I answered. "Nathan." A deep, calm voice greeted me. It was Lucas himself. My pulse quickened instantly, adrenaline flooding through me, though my voice remained steady. "Lucas," I replied coolly. "Unexpected call." He chuckled softly, confidence dripping from each word. "I wanted to discuss Jessica's upcoming sessions. She seems stressed lately. Thought you might have insight." His audacity surprised me, yet I responded evenly, playing along. "Stress? Not that I've noticed. She seems fine." Silence stretched briefly, tension crackling subtly. Lucas finally spoke, choosing his words carefully. "Perhaps it's nothing, just a trainer's instinct." "Perhaps," I replied evenly, voice steady. We ended the call with hollow pleasantries. Lucas's true motive remained unclear, yet his outreach spoke volumes. Was he probing for suspicion, or hinting indirectly that he sensed something amiss in Jessica's confidence? As I replaced the phone gently, I considered carefully. Lucas, reaching out directly, signaled instability, either in his trust in Jessica or their carefully orchestrated scheme. Minutes later, Jessica returned, radiant yet falsely so, her laughter echoing lightly as she entered. "Had a lovely brunch," she announced cheerfully, approaching me, her eyes bright yet unreadable. "Missed you there." "Busy morning," I replied neutrally, studying her expression. Lucas called earlier. A brief flicker, surprise, perhaps concern, flashed across her features before vanishing behind practiced composure. "Oh?" Her voice remained casual, controlled. "Checking about your stress levels." I continued mildly. "Thought you'd mentioned something to him." Jessica laughed lightly, dismissing the implication with ease. "Just harmless concern. He's thorough." "Very thorough," I agreed softly, holding her gaze a fraction longer than comfortable. She smiled slowly, carefully, unreadable once more. "I'll reassure him next session." As she walked away gracefully, my resolve hardened further. Jessica's calculated games had dragged us into dangerous waters, but the currents were shifting. Beneath her quiet calculations lay vulnerabilities, weaknesses ready to be exposed. And soon, she'd find herself adrift. Winter deepened its grip, and a thin layer of frost coated everything outside, mirroring the chill settling inside our home. Jessica's facade remained impeccable, her routine perfectly maintained, as though unaware of the storm quietly gathering around her. Yet beneath her carefully curated normality, I sensed fractures beginning to form. Small hesitations, slight nervous glances, brief lapses of concentration, subtle signs that the pressure of her deceit might finally be affecting her. Perhaps Lucas's recent call had unsettled her more than she'd shown. One evening, Jessica lingered in the kitchen after dinner, sipping a glass of red wine, staring distractedly through the frost-edged window. Snow fell softly outside, muffling the world into gentle silence. "Is everything all right?" I asked, observing her quietly. "You seem distant tonight." She turned slowly, her smile soft but unsteady. "Just tired," she murmured. "Work stress catching up, I suppose." The irony in her words was biting, but I masked my reaction carefully. "Maybe a weekend away really would help," I suggested gently, testing her. Her eyes flickered cautiously, assessing me. "You're serious?" I nodded slowly. "We both deserve it." She relaxed visibly, smiling more genuinely. "Then let's do it," she replied softly. "Just us, no distractions." Her sudden eagerness intrigued me. Was this genuine desire for intimacy, or simply another maneuver, another calculated move to maintain the illusion? Later that night, as Jessica slept beside me, I lay awake, troubled by the question. Her breathing was soft, peaceful, betraying no hint of inner turmoil. But something had shifted tonight, something subtle, but critical. My phone buzzed gently, lighting briefly. Caleb's message glowed dimly. "Lucas withdrawing large sum tonight. Jessica unaware, might be preparing to vanish sooner than expected." My pulse quickened sharply. Lucas was accelerating their plan independently, possibly leaving Jessica stranded. A cold realization settled in me. Jessica might become victim to her own treachery, betrayed by the very partner she'd trusted blindly. Carefully, quietly, I rose from bed, moving silently to the study. Caleb awaited my response urgently. "Continue monitoring. We need absolute confirmation," I instructed. His reply appeared instantly. "Understood." I exhaled deeply, the weight of this new development pressing heavily upon me. Jessica was cunning, manipulative, but I'd never considered she might be equally blind. Her confidence masking vulnerabilities she couldn't see. Lucas's quiet betrayal introduced a new complexity, reshaping my perspective entirely. As I returned to bed, Jessica stirred softly, eyes opening slightly. "Nathan?" she whispered sleepily. "Just needed some water." I lied smoothly, slipping beside her again. She murmured softly, falling quickly back into slumber. I lay beside her, eyes fixed on the ceiling, thoughts churning endlessly. Jessica's web of deceit was unraveling faster than she'd anticipated. Beneath her carefully managed exterior lay an instability, a fragility she'd overlooked completely. The snow continued falling outside, silent and steady. Just as Jessica had maintained her facade, calm, composed, utterly convincing. But winter's beauty concealed dangers beneath its soft exterior. Ice formed quietly, silently, hidden beneath powdery drifts, treacherous and unforgiving. Jessica believed herself safe on the surface, unaware of the cold betrayal lurking quietly beneath her feet, poised to shatter everything she'd built. And soon I knew the ice would crack. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual, unable to shake the lingering tension from the night before. Jessica slept quietly, her peaceful face illuminated softly by dawn's pale glow. For a brief moment, memories surged, reminding me of mornings when this sight filled me with warmth instead of cold suspicion. Shaking myself free from nostalgia, I slipped quietly out of bed, leaving Jessica undisturbed. Downstairs, Caleb's urgent messages awaited, blinking insistently on my phone screen. Lucas initiated transfer overnight. Large withdrawal completed. Funds moved offshore discreetly. Jessica unaware. I clenched my jaw, a mix of satisfaction and unease twisting within me. Lucas's betrayal was complete now. Jessica, who'd masterminded deceit, had become the victim of her accomplice's treachery. Yet, I felt no joy, only a hollow bitterness. The kitchen filled slowly with morning light, revealing Jessica's small touches everywhere. The delicate porcelain mug she favored, flowers she'd arranged days ago, now wilting slightly. Each reminder felt cruelly ironic. Soft footsteps interrupted my thoughts. Jessica entered quietly, wrapped loosely in her robe, sleepy eyes offering a brief, vulnerable glimpse before her mask snapped neatly into place. "You're up early?" she murmured gently, pouring coffee. "Couldn't sleep," I replied softly, studying her closely. "Work worries." She nodded sympathetically, handing me a steaming mug, eyes softening slightly. "I'm sorry. Anything I can help with?" The sincerity in her voice startled me, stirring something deeper. Pain, loss, regret. Was any part of Jessica still genuine? Or was this too simply another calculated performance? "No," I responded softly, forcing calm into my voice. "It's complicated." She approached slowly, touching my arm gently, her gaze unusually earnest. "Maybe I haven't been here enough lately. Maybe that's on me." Her sudden vulnerability caught me off guard, complicating my resolve. Jessica's deception was clear, undeniable, but in this fleeting moment, she appeared genuinely remorseful, almost lost. Before I could respond, her phone vibrated loudly on the countertop, startling us both. Jessica hesitated slightly, eyes flickering nervously toward the screen, Lucas's name clearly displayed. A brief, silent tension stretched between us. Her hesitation spoke volumes, betraying her internal panic clearly. "You can get that," I said neutrally, heart pounding uncomfortably. She took the phone slowly, stepping away slightly, voice hushed but strained. "Lucas, what's going on?" The panic in her whisper was audible, palpable, unmistakable. I stood frozen, ears straining, heart tight. "I don't understand." Her voice rose slightly, desperate, then dropped again. "You can't be serious, Lucas." Jessica's voice broke abruptly, silenced by disbelief or anger. Her shoulders trembled slightly as she ended the call harshly, turning slowly back to me. Her eyes glittered dangerously, shock and fury plainly evident. "Nathan," she began, voice shaking slightly, masking panic beneath anger. "Something's come up. I need to deal with it." "Of course," I replied evenly, keeping my composure. Her facade was slipping rapidly now, cracks widening visibly, exposing raw fear beneath carefully maintained elegance. She rushed upstairs, footsteps frantic, hurried. Alone again, I released a slow, shaky breath, realizing Jessica's world had just shifted dramatically. Lucas's betrayal had shattered her carefully constructed reality. I sipped coffee slowly, its bitterness fitting perfectly. Jessica, the architect of deceit, now faced betrayal firsthand, and silently, calmly, I watched her carefully built illusions begin to fracture, knowing this was just the beginning. Jessica disappeared upstairs, leaving behind a lingering atmosphere of confusion and suppressed panic. From my office window, I watched her moments later as she hurried toward her car, her movements jerky, anxious, a stark contrast to her usual composed demeanor. Caleb's call came swiftly after her departure. "You saw what happened?" I asked immediately, my voice calm despite my racing heart. "I tracked Lucas closely," Caleb replied evenly. "He took nearly everything from their joint account last night. Jessica's now realizing she's been double-crossed." A hollow sense of vindication washed over me, mingled strangely with pity. Jessica's confidence, her carefully orchestrated plans, all of it had been dismantled in one swift, brutal act of betrayal. Her accomplice had abandoned her, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. "She'll try to contact Lucas directly," Caleb continued, voice analytical. "But he's already disappeared, probably overseas by now." I sighed quietly, conflicted by the sharp pang of satisfaction. Jessica was experiencing firsthand the sting of betrayal. the same pain she'd planned to inflict upon me. "What now?" Caleb asked softly, sensing my hesitation. "We continue watching," I responded after a moment, voice steady. "Jessica's desperation will drive her next actions. I need to understand exactly how deep this goes." Hours passed slowly, stretching into the afternoon without Jessica's return. The house felt emptier now, colder. Memories resurfaced involuntarily. The first day we'd moved in, her laughter filling empty rooms, shared evenings curled together on the couch. Each memory felt like a twisted lie, tainted irreversibly. Evening shadows stretched across the house by the time Jessica finally returned. She entered slowly, visibly drained, her usual elegance replaced by fatigue and vulnerability. She hesitated briefly upon seeing me, eyes wary, uncertain. "Nathan," she began softly, voice barely audible. I need to tell you something." I maintained a neutral expression, nodding slightly. "Go on." She approached slowly, her eyes filled with an uncharacteristic fear, desperation etched clearly across her features. "I've made mistakes," she whispered, voice trembling. "I've trusted the wrong people." "Lucas," I offered quietly, testing her reaction. Shock flickered clearly across her face. She nodded slowly, eyes glistening. "How did you—" "It doesn't matter," I interrupted calmly. "What matters is your honesty now. What exactly happened?" Jessica took a shaky breath, struggling visibly. "He took everything," she admitted softly, her voice strained. "He disappeared overnight. I don't know where he is or how to find him." My chest tightened at her raw admission, but I maintained my composure carefully. "You trusted him deeply." Her eyes dropped shamefully. "I thought—" She hesitated, voice cracking. "I thought we had something. But he played me. He played us both." Silence stretched painfully between us. I saw clearly the devastation in her eyes, not merely from financial loss, but from the deeper betrayal she'd suffered personally. "Nathan," she whispered finally, voice pleading. "I'm sorry. I know I've hurt you. I've been foolish, blind." I considered her words carefully, weighing sincerity against desperation. Jessica's remorse appeared genuine, raw, yet doubt persisted beneath my surface empathy. "Let's start over," she pleaded softly. "I know trust won't come easy, but please, give me a chance." I stood quietly, studying her closely. Jessica's carefully woven web had unraveled completely, leaving her exposed, vulnerable, yet trust, once shattered, wasn't easily repaired. And as she stood before me, desperate and broken, I found myself uncertain. Could I ever believe her again? Jessica's admission echoed painfully in my mind, yet something deeper within me resisted her plea. I couldn't shake the suspicion that even now, amidst her vulnerability, her words were calculated, carefully chosen to manipulate my sympathy. Trust, once shattered, wasn't something I could simply choose to restore. That night, as Jessica slept restlessly beside me, I lay awake, my mind racing. Her world had crumbled dramatically, her carefully laid plans undone by Lucas's betrayal. Yet, was I now supposed to accept her apologies and rebuild on the ruins she'd created? The next morning, Jessica rose early, her movements tentative, hesitant. Our usual ease around one another had vanished completely, replaced by awkward silence. "I'll be home late," she finally offered quietly, eyes avoiding mine. "I need to fix things." "Fix things?" I echoed neutrally, careful to hide suspicion. She hesitated, anxiety clear in her posture. "Try to recover what's lost. I'm meeting someone who might help." "Who?" I pressed gently, watching her reaction carefully. Jessica tensed briefly, then forced a weak smile. "A financial advisor, someone Lucas introduced me to. He might help trace Lucas's activities." My chest tightened instinctively. Jessica's desperation had driven her deeper into uncertainty, yet her willingness to trust another unknown entity worried me profoundly. "Be careful," I warned softly, voice sincere despite my reservations. She nodded gratefully, lingering briefly as though waiting for more, then left swiftly. Once alone, I immediately called Caleb. "Jessica's meeting someone today," I explained quickly. "Another financial contact Lucas provided. Can you track her?" "Already on it," Caleb replied firmly. "She's walking into dangerous territory. Lucas had connections with risky players. I'll monitor closely." The hours passed agonizingly slow, tension building steadily as I awaited Caleb's updates. My anxiety peaked mid-afternoon when his message flashed urgently. "Jessica in meeting. Financial contact identified. Michael Voss. Known history of financial manipulation. Dangerous associate of Lucas. She's taking significant risks." I exhaled sharply, panic rising suddenly. Jessica's desperation was clouding her judgment, driving her into more perilous circumstances than she'd faced before. Another message swiftly followed. "They've agreed on a transaction. Jessica's transferring more funds, unaware of Voss's reputation. Need immediate intervention." I hesitated, heart hammering painfully. Jessica had betrayed me deeply. Yet could I knowingly allow her to be victimized further? "Intervene discreetly," I replied quickly. "Protect her identity but disrupt the transfer. We can't risk deeper trouble." Caleb's confirmation came instantly. "Done." I slumped heavily into my chair, relief mingling sharply with bitter frustration. Jessica's choices had spiraled dangerously out of control, dragging us both deeper into uncertainty. My role had shifted abruptly, from silent observer to unwilling protector, tangled deeply in the web she'd woven. When Jessica returned that evening, she appeared visibly shaken, her carefully maintained composure fully broken. She glanced toward me, eyes wide with unspoken fear, confusion evident. "Everything all right?" I questioned gently, hiding my prior knowledge. Her voice trembled softly. "Something strange happened. The transfer, I don't understand, Nathan. It vanished, blocked somehow." I masked my internal relief carefully. "Maybe it's for the best." She nodded weakly, sinking onto the couch, visibly drained. Her desperation, her vulnerability, they tugged painfully at something deep within me. But beneath my quiet empathy remained the stark, unsettling reality of our fractured trust. Jessica had shifted alliances recklessly, driven by panic. Now, together, we faced consequences neither had anticipated. Yet, even amidst chaos, uncertainty lingered powerfully. Could I ever truly trust her again? Days turned heavy, burdened by awkward silences and half-hearted exchanges. Jessica moved quietly through the house, her confidence shattered, replaced by an uncertain, fragile version of herself I'd never known. Each interaction between us felt strained, weighed down by unspoken truths. One evening, she hesitantly entered my office, hovering uncertainly at the doorway. "Nathan, can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice devoid of its former confidence. I gestured toward the chair opposite my desk. "Of course." Jessica sat slowly, gathering courage visibly. "I've thought a lot about everything," she began quietly, eyes cast downward. "I know I've damaged what we had, but I want to fix things, somehow." I studied her carefully, sensing sincerity beneath her hesitation, yet caution lingered powerfully within me. "Fix things how?" I prompted gently, urging honesty. She met my eyes finally, vulnerability clear. "I want to find Lucas, recover what's ours, what he took from us both." I exhaled slowly, measuring my response carefully. "Lucas is dangerous, Jessica. His connections go deeper than you realize." She nodded grimly, resignation evident. "I know, but he's ruined everything. I can't just walk away without fighting back." Her determination surprised me slightly, revealing strength I'd overlooked. Yet my reservations persisted, rooted deeply in recent betrayal. "There's something else," she admitted hesitantly, voice barely audible. "The blocked transaction. I think someone else intervened. Someone's watching us." My pulse quickened sharply. Jessica sensed Caleb's intervention, though unaware it was me who'd authorized it. Her intuition unsettled me deeply. Why would someone intervene? I questioned neutrally, hiding tension carefully. Jessica shook her head uncertainly. I'm not sure. Protection, control, maybe both. But someone knows everything. She looked genuinely afraid now, her earlier confidence completely eroded. I felt torn. Part of me longed to reveal my role, offering comfort and honesty. Yet deeper instincts warned against exposing myself further. Let me help, I finally offered carefully. We'll approach this cautiously, find answers slowly. Relief softened Jessica's expression visibly, gratitude clear in her gaze. Thank you, she whispered gently. I don't deserve your help. Perhaps she didn't, but I couldn't ignore lingering feelings entirely. Jessica had betrayed deeply, yet beneath anger, residual care remained, complicating every decision. That night, after Jessica retreated quietly to bed, Caleb called urgently. Jessica suspects intervention, I informed him swiftly. She senses surveillance. Caleb hesitated briefly. Should we pause tracking? Temporarily step back? I considered carefully, conflicted profoundly. Jessica's intuition risked exposure, but withdrawing now sacrificed essential vigilance. Lucas remained dangerous, unpredictable. No, I responded finally. Continue carefully, discreetly. Jessica's safety remains priority, despite everything. Caleb confirmed swiftly, his professionalism reassuring amidst uncertainty. Afterward, alone in darkness, I wrestled silently with complicated emotions. Jessica's betrayal lingered powerfully, yet now she was vulnerable, reliant on me unknowingly for protection. Our roles had shifted dramatically. Victim became guardian, deceived became deceiver. The threads of Jessica's carefully woven deception unraveled rapidly, leaving behind confusion and uncertainty. Yet amidst chaos, clarity emerged painfully. Despite betrayal, hurt, lingering mistrust, a deep part of me still cared, unable to fully abandon her. Jessica's vulnerability tugged uncomfortably at hidden emotions, reminding me how intricately our lives remained entwined, despite broken trust. But could vulnerability alone rebuild what deception had shattered? In the following days, Jessica's suspicion grew more pronounced. She moved cautiously around the house, glancing nervously at mirrors, double-checking windows and doors. Her fear had become tangible, her vulnerability raw and exposed. One night, after she drifted into restless sleep, I quietly retreated to my study. Caleb's encrypted messages awaited, pulsing urgently on my screen. Jessica's been targeted again. Michael Voss attempted another contact, pushing her to meet alone. High risk, recommend immediate action. My pulse quickened. Jessica's desperation made her easy prey, blinding her to dangers she couldn't recognize. Michael Voss represented a threat beyond mere financial deceit. He was known for ruthlessness, manipulation. Jessica had stumbled into a world darker than she'd imagined. I replied swiftly, "Intercept any further attempts discreetly. I'll handle Jessica." Caleb confirmed immediately, his swift action providing quiet reassurance amidst growing tension. The next morning, Jessica appeared pale, withdrawn. Her eyes darted anxiously around, unease evident in every movement. I approached gently, deliberately calm. "Jessica, what's wrong?" I asked softly, touching her shoulder gently. She flinched slightly, startled by my presence, then exhaled shakily. "I received another message from Voss. He wants to meet urgently, alone." I masked my alarm carefully. "You can't trust him. He's dangerous." Jessica's eyes filled with fear, voice trembling. "He claims he can locate Lucas, return everything lost, but he demands money up front." I steadied my voice carefully. "It's a trap, Jessica. He'll exploit your desperation. You can't go." She nodded weakly, eyes glistening with tears. I don't know what to do, Nathan. I'm terrified. I hesitated briefly, then gently embraced her. She stiffened initially, then relaxed into my touch, trembling slightly. Her vulnerability tore at me deeply, stirring unresolved emotions. "We'll find another way," I promised softly, meaning every word despite lingering doubts. After calming Jessica, I retreated quietly to my office, calling Caleb immediately. "Voss must be neutralized discreetly," I instructed firmly. "He represents immediate danger." Caleb understood instantly. "I'll handle it quietly. Jessica won't be harmed." Later that evening, Jessica's phone vibrated sharply, startling her visibly. I watched closely as she hesitantly read the screen, eyes widening suddenly. "What happened?" I prompted gently, sensing her distress. She stared at me numbly, disbelief evident. "Voss, he's gone. Disappeared suddenly. His account's locked. Funds seized. Authorities are involved." I feigned surprise convincingly. "Maybe he was being watched. Perhaps you're safer than you realize." Jessica nodded uncertainly, glancing nervously toward me, suspicion flickering briefly before vanishing. "Maybe," she whispered softly, voice barely audible. Her quiet suspicion unsettled me deeply. Jessica sensed intervention but remained uncertain of its source. My role, hidden protector, silent manipulator, blurred dangerously, complicating our fragile dynamics further. That night, as Jessica slept fitfully beside me, I lay awake, heart heavy. My quiet interventions had protected her, but at what cost? Each hidden action deepened deception, further entangling our fractured relationship. I glanced at her peaceful face, vulnerability clearly visible in soft moonlight. Jessica had betrayed me deeply, yet I found myself fiercely protective, unable to abandon her entirely. My hidden hands had guided events quietly, protecting her from unseen dangers. Yet, beneath my protective actions lingered troubling questions. How long could deception shield vulnerability? And could my hidden hands truly mend what had been irreversibly broken? The strain in our home intensified over the following days. Jessica remained on edge, paranoia shadowing her every movement, suspicion lingering in her cautious gaze. The house that once felt warm, inviting, now seemed like a quiet battleground filled with unspoken tension. One rainy afternoon, I found Jessica seated by the living room window, staring blankly through droplets streaming down the glass. Her shoulders slumped, vulnerability visible in her posture, mirroring the melancholy weather outside. I approached quietly, hesitating briefly. "Jessica, we need to talk openly." She turned slowly, eyes dull and weary. "I know," she murmured softly. "Things can't continue this way." I sat opposite her, measuring my words carefully. "We can't ignore what's happened, what you've done." She winced visibly, eyes filling with regret. "I can't undo my mistakes, Nathan. I wish I could. Lucas blinded me. I allowed myself to become someone unrecognizable." Her sincerity touched me, yet my hurt remained raw beneath surface empathy. "Why, Jessica? Why betray everything we built?" She looked down shamefully, voice barely audible. "Greed, ego, maybe boredom. Lucas promised excitement, freedom. I was foolish, blind." I listened silently, absorbing her painful honesty. "You've endangered both of us. Lucas's betrayal, Voss's manipulation. This goes beyond financial loss. We're in real danger." Jessica nodded grimly, resignation evident. "I know. And someone's watching us, controlling things quietly. I don't know if they're helping or trapping us further." My pulse quickened slightly, but I masked tension carefully. "Do you have any idea who?" She shook her head helplessly. "No, but it's terrifying. Someone sees everything." Her fear was palpable, unsettling me deeply. Jessica sensed hidden manipulation, my manipulation, without identifying its source clearly. My quiet protection had become another threat, another unknown shadow haunting her. "Jessica, I began gently, carefully maintaining composure. We must consider options. Staying passive risks more danger. She hesitated briefly, eyes narrowing cautiously. Options? What options? I exhaled deeply, voice steady. Leaving temporarily, disappearing quietly, allowing things to calm, authorities to resolve complications. Jessica's eyes widened sharply, anxiety clear. Run? Together? Temporarily, I emphasized carefully, watching her closely. Protecting ourselves until we're certain it's safe. Her suspicion softened gradually, replaced by quiet relief, gratitude. You're willing to do this, for me? Despite everything? I nodded slowly, sincerity evident. I can't ignore residual feelings. Betrayal hurts, but your safety matters, despite everything. Jessica's eyes glistened with sudden tears, voice shaking gently. I don't deserve your kindness, Nathan. Perhaps not, I admitted quietly. But I can't abandon you entirely, not like this. She nodded tearfully, silent gratitude filling the fragile space between us. Yet, beneath quiet reconciliation lingered complexity, fractured trust, unresolved betrayal, hidden manipulations still unspoken. That evening, alone in my office, I called Caleb urgently. Jessica suspects hidden intervention deeply, I explained swiftly. We need careful handling moving forward. Caleb understood immediately. Proceed cautiously. Your protective actions risk exposure. As night settled, I lay awake beside Jessica, turmoil churning relentlessly inside me. Our relationship, fractured, strained, hung precariously, vulnerable to slightest revelations. My quiet protection had shielded Jessica from danger, yet now risked pushing her further away if exposed. Beside me, Jessica stirred slightly, murmuring softly in sleep. I watched her quietly, conflicted profoundly, protective yet betrayed, uncertain yet determined. Fractured mirrors reflected our complicated realities clearly. Broken trust, fragile hope, lingering deception. Could our fractured reflections ever truly align again? Morning broke with pale, muted sunlight filtering softly through drawn curtains, casting vague patterns across our bedroom walls. Jessica lay beside me, breathing gently, lost in sleep. She appeared peaceful now, unburdened momentarily by the tangled web of deceit and fear she'd spun around herself. Careful not to disturb her, I quietly left our bed and moved silently downstairs. I brewed coffee mechanically, thoughts consumed by the precarious situation we now faced. Jessica's safety, my hidden manipulations, and the lingering threats Lucas and Voss had left behind, all formed an intricate, fragile puzzle, each piece interdependent yet volatile. My phone buzzed softly, interrupting my thoughts. Caleb again. His encrypted message flashed insistently. New activity detected. Someone accessed sandbox accounts externally overnight. Highly sophisticated anonymous entry. Possible Lucas return or new player emerging. My heart clenched tightly. Just as equilibrium seemed attainable, new threats emerged from shadows again, complicating everything further. I responded swiftly. Track activity closely. Identify source immediately. Caleb's confirmation came instantly, his vigilance quietly reassuring amidst growing chaos. Minutes later, Jessica appeared cautiously in the doorway, wrapped loosely in her robe, eyes clouded with sleep yet alert with residual anxiety. "You're up early?" she murmured softly, watching me carefully. "Couldn't sleep," I replied honestly, masking deeper tension. "Coffee?" She nodded gratefully, approaching slowly. "Something's wrong. I can see it." I hesitated briefly, weighing honesty against protective silence. Jessica deserved openness, yet my role as hidden protector complicated transparency profoundly. "Someone accessed accounts last night," I admitted finally, watching her reaction carefully. "Possibly Lucas returning or someone else entirely." Jessica paled visibly, anxiety flickering sharply across her features. "He's back? Lucas? After everything?" I steadied my voice carefully. "Unclear yet. Caleb's investigating discreetly." She glanced sharply toward me, suspicion briefly resurfacing. "Caleb, your contact. You've involved him deeply." I nodded slowly, meeting her gaze calmly. "He's helped discreetly, protected quietly." Jessica's expression shifted, gratitude mingling sharply with lingering suspicion. "Why didn't you tell me?" I exhaled deeply, voice gentle yet firm. "Your trustworthiness has been uncertain, Jessica. Protecting you meant hiding details." She flinched slightly, accepting my blunt honesty silently. "I understand. My deception warrants suspicion." Quiet tension stretched momentarily between us, honesty painfully raw yet necessary. Jessica finally spoke softly, sincerity evident. "I don't expect immediate forgiveness, Nathan, but trust. I desperately want to rebuild it." I studied her quietly, weighing sincerity carefully. Her vulnerability seemed genuine now, her confidence fully shattered, replaced by cautious humility. Before responding, my phone buzzed sharply again. Caleb's urgent message appeared swiftly. Identified external access source. Lucas confirmed. Attempting large withdrawal. Immediate intervention required. Panic surged instantly. Lucas's sudden return represented immediate, profound danger. Lucas confirmed. I informed Jessica quickly, controlling anxiety. Attempting another withdrawal, Caleb must intervene immediately. Jessica's eyes widened sharply, fear visibly consuming her again. "We can't escape him, Nathan. He's relentless." I approached gently, steadying her trembling hands softly. "We'll face this together carefully. Caleb's protection remains strong. Trust that, if nothing else." Jessica nodded weakly, clinging to my reassurance desperately. Her trust, fragile, cautious, began rebuilding slowly, amidst shared threats and quiet protection. Yet, behind temporary reassurance lingered troubling questions. Lucas's return shattered fragile peace, plunging us further into darkness. Our quiet sanctuary was again surrounded, threatened relentlessly by unseen dangers. Could quiet trust and hidden protection truly overcome relentless shadows? Or would darkness finally consume everything we tried rebuilding? By evening, the tension inside our home became almost palpable. Each passing minute steeped deeper in silent dread. Jessica hovered nervously, her movements restless and fragmented. Lucas's return had rattled her profoundly, eroding any fragile sense of security we'd momentarily established. As darkness settled, Caleb called discreetly, urgency evident in his voice. "We've secured the sandbox accounts temporarily, but Lucas's attempt was aggressive, dangerously so. He's clearly desperate," he warned. My heart tightened sharply. Lucas's aggression meant escalating threats, increasing risks Jessica couldn't possibly fathom fully. "What now?" I questioned swiftly. Caleb exhaled slowly, his voice grimly resolute. "I suggest immediate containment. Lucas represents active danger. We need to trap him decisively." I hesitated briefly, understanding the risks involved. Yet Jessica's safety depended entirely on neutralizing Lucas permanently. "Proceed carefully," I instructed firmly. "Neutralize Lucas quietly. Protect Jessica at all costs." Caleb confirmed quickly, understanding the heavy implications clearly. Returning downstairs, I found Jessica pacing anxiously, fear visibly consuming her. She paused, sensing my presence, her eyes wide with unspoken questions. "What's happening, Nathan?" she whispered anxiously. I approached gently, maintaining calm. "Caleb's handling it. Lucas won't threaten us further." Jessica's relief mingled sharply with residual anxiety. "Can we trust that? Lucas knows too much. He's relentless." I steadied my voice carefully. "Caleb's reliable. Trust that, Jessica, please." She nodded weakly, vulnerability painfully evident. "I wish I'd trusted you earlier, before everything spiraled." I hesitated briefly, Emotions complicated, yet sincere. Mistakes happen. What matters now is confronting consequences together. Jessica's eyes softened gratefully, her tentative trust gradually strengthening. Hours later, my phone buzzed sharply. Caleb's urgent message appeared swiftly. Lucas located, contained discreetly, threat neutralized permanently, Jessica safe now. Relief surged instantly, overwhelming yet quietly cautious. Lucas's threat had ended, but repercussions lingered powerfully. Lucas is neutralized, I informed Jessica carefully, watching her reaction closely. You're safe finally. Her eyes widened sharply, disbelief mingling profoundly with relief. He's gone? Truly? I nodded slowly, voice gentle yet firm. Permanently contained. No further threats. Jessica exhaled shakily, tears forming suddenly. Nathan, your protection, your kindness despite everything, it's undeserved but deeply felt. Her sincere gratitude tugged sharply at lingering resentment. Jessica's betrayal remained deeply painful, yet vulnerability demanded compassion, despite complexities. That night, after Jessica retreated quietly to bed, Caleb called privately again. Lucas's containment was complicated but decisive, he confirmed discreetly. Jessica remains protected indefinitely now. I exhaled deeply, relief tempered by profound exhaustion. Thank you, Caleb. Your discretion, reliability, they've been invaluable throughout this ordeal. Caleb acknowledged softly, understanding complexities deeply. Protecting loved ones demands difficult decisions. Your actions, though hidden, were justified fully. Afterward, lying awake beside Jessica, emotional exhaustion overwhelmed me profoundly. Lucas's threat had ended finally, yet lingering questions remained unresolved. Trust, betrayal, hidden manipulations complicating everything deeply. Beside me, Jessica stirred slightly, murmuring softly in peaceful sleep. Watching her, unresolved emotions surfaced powerfully, resentment mingling sharply with protective instincts, betrayal overshadowed momentarily by compassion. The net around us tightened finally, threats neutralized permanently. Yet beneath temporary safety lingered profound uncertainties. Could trust, fractured deeply, ever fully mend? And amidst quiet protection, could hidden manipulations finally yield genuine healing? Or had secrecy irrevocably poisoned possibilities of true reconciliation? Days passed quietly after Lucas's neutralization, tension gradually easing into a fragile calm. Jessica's demeanor changed notably. Fear receded slowly, replaced by cautious optimism and genuine vulnerability. Our interactions softened subtly, shifting gradually toward tentative reconciliation. One crisp morning, Jessica joined me quietly in the kitchen, hesitating briefly before speaking softly. Nathan, I owe you more honesty, full transparency, she began cautiously, eyes earnest yet uncertain. I gestured gently, encouraging openness carefully. Go ahead, Jessica exhaled shakily, gathering courage visibly. Lucas manipulated deeply, yes, but I chose betrayal willingly. Greed drove me initially, but deeper dissatisfaction within myself fueled choices further. I listened silently, absorbing painful honesty quietly. I lost sight of genuine happiness, chasing illusions Lucas offered, she admitted softly. My betrayal wasn't merely financial, it betrayed trust profoundly. I'm deeply ashamed, Nathan. Her sincerity touched lingering resentment powerfully. Jessica's vulnerability, raw, genuine, gradually chipped away residual anger inside me. Jessica, I responded gently, voice sincere yet cautious. Honesty now is crucial. Betrayal shattered trust profoundly, but admitting responsibility matters greatly. She nodded gratefully, eyes glistening slightly. Thank you for your compassion despite everything. Your hidden protection, Caleb's interventions, I understand now. My heart tightened sharply, realizing she fully comprehended hidden manipulations finally. Jessica sensed truth fully now, My role as quiet protector, silent manipulator clearly revealed. You're aware now? I questioned carefully, controlling anxiety. Jessica nodded gently, voice soft, yet firm. Initially uncertain, but Lucas's sudden containment confirmed suspicions. You've quietly guided, protected throughout this ordeal. I exhaled deeply, confronting exposed truths openly finally. Your safety remained priority despite deception. Protecting you meant hidden actions, though secrecy complicated everything further. Jessica approached slowly, touching my hand gently, voice quietly sincere. Your hidden actions shielded from deeper harm. I understand motives fully now. My relief mingled profoundly with cautious hope. Jessica's quiet acceptance, gratitude, soothed lingering uncertainty finally, allowing genuine healing opportunities cautiously. Afterward, I called Caleb discreetly, explaining Jessica's awareness fully. She understands hidden manipulations finally, I admitted cautiously. Caleb exhaled gently, thoughtful silence briefly stretching. Transparency complicates dynamics, but genuine reconciliation demands exposed truths fully. Jessica's awareness enables honest rebuilding finally. His calm reassurance soothed residual anxiety quietly, encouraging cautious optimism carefully. That evening, alone in quiet reflection, complicated emotions surfaced clearly. Betrayal mingling profoundly with renewed compassion, hidden manipulations overshadowed gradually by genuine honesty finally. Jessica joined quietly later, sitting gently beside me. Her eyes met mine carefully, sincerity clearly evident. Nathan, rebuilding trust fully demands time, effort from both sides deeply. She murmured softly, touching my hand gently. But honesty now provides genuine opportunities finally. I nodded slowly, accepting cautious optimism finally. Transparency, sincerity, they'll guide genuine healing carefully. Jessica smiled softly, vulnerability mingling profoundly with genuine hope finally. Quiet understanding stretched gently between us. Fractured trust, rebuilding cautiously, slowly, yet meaningfully. Beneath lingering uncertainties remained fragile optimism finally. Hope, cautiously rekindled amidst exposed truths. Genuine vulnerability providing quiet opportunities cautiously. Could honest reflections finally mend fractured realities genuinely, or had deception irrevocably poisoned possibilities? As we sat quietly together, cautious hope mingling profoundly with genuine sincerity finally, possibilities seemed cautiously promising, reflections of truth guiding careful healing finally. The following weeks unfolded quietly, filled with slow, cautious steps toward reconciliation. Jessica and I began openly addressing the fractures in our relationship, confronting painful truths gently but decisively. Trust remained fragile, yet beneath lingering caution, something meaningful gradually emerged, genuine understanding. One afternoon, we decided to clear out old belongings from our home office, symbolically discarding remnants of past deceit. Jessica moved slowly, sorting quietly through paperwork, her gaze occasionally flickering with regret at certain documents. As we worked silently, she paused abruptly, staring intently at an old photograph she'd uncovered. A candid snapshot from our honeymoon, smiles genuine, carefree. Jessica's fingers trembled slightly, voice gentle yet strained when she finally spoke. "Nathan, seeing this hurts profoundly," she murmured softly. "I've jeopardized everything meaningful for fleeting illusions." I approached gently, studying the photo thoughtfully. Memories resurfaced vividly, nostalgia mingling profoundly with lingering resentment. Yet compassion overshadowed residual anger carefully, enabling sincere response finally. "Jessica, past mistakes can't erase genuine moments fully," I replied quietly, meeting her eyes gently. "Betrayal shattered trust, but honesty now offers genuine healing finally." Her gaze softened gratefully. vulnerability visible beneath lingering regret profoundly. Rebuilding trust genuinely. It's daunting, Nathan, yet essential deeply. I nodded slowly, understanding complexities clearly. We'll navigate slowly, carefully. Each step matters profoundly. Jessica's eyes glistened slightly, gratitude clearly evident beneath cautious hope finally. Afterward, I privately called Caleb, informing him of genuine reconciliation finally progressing. Jessica's sincerity is genuine, I confirmed cautiously, yet firmly. Trust rebuilding cautiously, but meaningfully. Caleb's reassurance came swiftly, voice calmly supportive. Transparency, genuine vulnerability. They'll rebuild carefully fractured dynamics finally. You've navigated complexities remarkably. His quiet affirmation soothed lingering uncertainties finally, encouraging cautious optimism genuinely. That evening, Jessica approached quietly, holding carefully a delicate envelope she'd prepared discreetly. Nathan, honesty demands openness fully, she explained gently. This letter expresses everything deeply: remorse, sincerity, genuine commitment finally. I accepted carefully, understanding profound significance deeply. Later, alone privately, I unfolded Jessica's letter quietly, emotions surfacing powerfully as I read her sincere words genuinely. Nathan, I've betrayed profoundly, hurt deeply, yet your compassion, protection, patience remain undeserved but appreciated infinitely. Moving forward demands honesty, vulnerability, genuine trust-building finally. I'm committed sincerely to you, our future genuinely. Please accept cautious optimism, genuine sincerity finally, forever remorseful, yet hopeful sincerely, Jessica. My heart tightened profoundly, compassion overshadowing residual hurt finally. Jessica's genuine sincerity, cautious optimism, finally offered meaningful opportunities clearly. Reconciliation remained complex, yet increasingly possible finally. Returning quietly to Jessica, I approached gently, holding her sincere letter carefully. Jessica, your honesty deeply moves profoundly, I murmured softly. Trust building remains daunting, but genuine sincerity provides cautious optimism finally. Her eyes glistened softly, gratitude mingling profoundly with genuine hope finally. Quietly, carefully, she touched my hand gently. Nathan, let's rebuild slowly, cautiously, yet meaningfully, finally, she whispered sincerely. I nodded quietly, accepting meaningful opportunities carefully. Beneath lingering complexities remained profound sincerity genuinely. Cautious optimism finally overshadowing past deceit fully. Could new beginnings genuinely mend profoundly fractured trust? Or had deception irrevocably damaged genuine reconciliation finally? Yet as Jessica gently smiled finally, cautious hope profoundly mingling with genuine sincerity, carefully. Possibilities felt cautiously promising. New beginnings genuinely achievable finally. Months later, as spring gently replaced the bitter cold of winter, our lives slowly regained a semblance of normalcy. Jessica and I navigated carefully through the aftermath of her betrayal, each cautious step leading us closer to genuine reconciliation. Trust remained delicate, carefully nurtured by open communication, transparency, and profound sincerity. Jessica's efforts were earnest, her remorse authentic, her dedication unwavering. Yet, lingering scars reminded us both of past deceit profoundly, demanding continuous patience and understanding. One quiet afternoon, Jessica suggested a walk through our favorite local park, a symbolic gesture marking new beginnings finally. As we walked side by side, sunlight filtered softly through budding trees, warmth gently enveloping us, signaling fresh possibilities genuinely. Jessica paused near a familiar bench overlooking a small pond, tranquil waters mirroring clear skies above perfectly. Sitting gently, she exhaled softly, eyes reflecting thoughtful contemplation deeply. Nathan, rebuilding has been challenging profoundly, she admitted gently. Yet, I cherish this second chance deeply. I joined quietly beside her, considering carefully before responding sincerely. Jessica, trust rebuilding is profoundly difficult, but your genuine sincerity, consistent honesty, finally makes true reconciliation achievable cautiously. Her eyes softened gratefully, vulnerability openly visible beneath lingering caution profoundly. My betrayal remains a haunting reminder deeply. Yet, you've shown compassion infinitely, undeserved but deeply valued finally. I nodded slowly, emotions complicated yet sincere profoundly. Betrayal hurt deeply, but forgiveness becomes genuinely possible through sincere accountability finally. You've shown meaningful remorse consistently. Jessica smiled gently, relief mingling profoundly with genuine optimism finally. Quiet understanding stretched meaningfully between us. Past deceit overshadowed finally by cautious yet genuine healing carefully. Later, I called Caleb privately, updating him openly about our gradual reconciliation genuinely progressing. Jessica's efforts remain sincere genuinely, I explained carefully. Trust building remains complex, but meaningful reconciliation becomes increasingly achievable finally. Caleb's supportive response was swift, encouraging cautious optimism meaningfully. You've navigated complexities admirably. Genuine honesty, careful openness finally enables true healing profoundly. That evening, alone in quiet reflection privately, complex emotions surfaced profoundly. Past deceit, overshadowed finally by genuine sincerity, cautious optimism carefully nurtured through meaningful effort, finally. Jessica approached gently later, eyes soft yet serious carefully. Nathan, genuine reconciliation requires continuous effort profoundly, she whispered sincerely. Yet with genuine transparency, sincere vulnerability finally, rebuilding becomes genuinely possible. I nodded quietly, understanding complexities profoundly, yet accepting cautious optimism genuinely. Trust building remains challenging, but profoundly meaningful finally. Jessica touched my hand gently, quiet gratitude profoundly visible finally. Our relationship survived profound betrayal, but genuine healing emerges cautiously, carefully finally. Together quietly, we considered complexities genuinely. Past deceit overshadowed finally by cautious optimism. Sincere vulnerability, enabling meaningful rebuilding carefully. Beneath lingering uncertainties, remained profound sincerity finally. Careful openness, genuinely nurturing cautious, yet meaningful reconciliation profoundly. Could genuine vulnerability finally heal profoundly fractured trust carefully? Or had deception irrevocably damaged possibilities fully? Yet, as Jessica gently smiled finally, profound sincerity mingling cautiously with genuine optimism meaningfully, possibilities felt carefully promising. Final reflections offering genuine opportunities cautiously, profoundly meaningful finally. Our journey through profound betrayal had been immensely challenging deeply, but finally, genuine sincerity, cautious optimism, careful openness offered true healing profoundly. Together cautiously yet genuinely, we embraced final reflections, accepting profound complexities openly, nurturing careful yet sincere reconciliation finally achievable profoundly.